So, hello everyone. So, we will continue with the topic measurement of sensory perception. So, as we have mentioned that the 2-point discrimination test, where we try to measure the threshold distance where a person can discriminate the two different points of contact. So, as we have mentioned, at the finger it is very low, it is around 2.5 millimeter, and at the calf or thigh region it is very high. So, this is the lowest zone, highest zone, and this is the data curves taken from the same data. Now, if you see the in tabular form, so this green color, that is finger zone, and so it is very low, and at the calf it is so that the finger the sensitivity is very high. So, and 2-point threshold is discriminated by the size of receptive field. So, that if size of receptive field is more, that means it will give a higher distance, okay. And extent of overlap, if overlap is more, that means it will not be able to give the proper sensation. So, it will not be able to discriminate. So, that is how the extent of overlap is. And tactile sensation, that is this the touch sensation, it varies with the person to person. At different person will have different level of sensation, okay. 2-point threshold distance, and depends of the nature of the stimuli. If it is a touch, then he may not be able to detect, but if the pressure it becomes pressure, if it is, or if it becomes pain, or if it is warm or cold. So, depending on the nature of stimulation, so it can detect it, this value changes, that is 2-point threshold distance changes person to person and with the nature of stimulus, okay. And properties of stimulus, okay, such as frequency, duration and amplitude. So, if it is say frequency is high, the stimulus, say vibrating stimulus, if the stimulus frequency is changing, so that also affect the value this. So, for a particular type of stimulus, this, and for a particular person, it will give certain value. Even as we have seen, it changes with at different places, okay. Like type of overlap, this we have seen this picture earlier also. So, if the overlap is very high, that means sensation will be totally different, okay. The psychophysiological physical thresholds for a particular type of stimulation can be measured by minimum noticeable intensity of stimulus, that we have discussed in psychophysics, okay. Here also, that the total range here, it is not only the stimulus, intensity of stimulus, here it is what is the range of that stimulus. So, that stimulus, that is minimum noticeable intensity, suppose it is touch. So, it is suddenly it is just we can sense, start sensing. So, which is called intensity I minimum, okay. So, it is the minimum amplitude of stimulus keeping other stimulus properties constant, okay, when a person starts sensing it. So, minimum amplitude is there, it is there. And on the other hand, when the person starts sensing as pain the same stimulus. So, on the maximum stimulus intensity I max is the typically that can be the threshold amplitude for pain receptors. So, just noticeable touch and then up to the pain receptors, that total range, it is this is the range. So, it is related with the maximum dynamic range. In decibel we can express in terms of R is log of 10 I max by I minimum. This ratio it is called the range of stimulation. This is also a measure of sensory perception. For a particular sensation, a person, what is the minimum and maximum sensation limit, that can be expressed in terms of R, okay, dynamic range. So, suppose something is pressing. So, after at what point I have started sensing, and up to which point I am able to bear that. So, that range is expressed in terms of R, that is called dynamic range, okay. And R depends on the type of stimulus like thermal, mechanical. So, at certain temperature I start feeling cold, but up to what temperature I will. So, this is important, this is very important for designing a comfortable clothing, okay. And similarly, mechanical receptors are also location of the body, at which location it is there, depending on the type of number of sensors. So, this at location it depends, and there are different types of sensation in our daily activities, okay. So, the tactile sensation, which includes the pressure, texture, prick, puncture, thermal, softness, wetness, slip, adhesion, friction, dynamic contact and release. So, dynamic contact, all these things are directly or indirectly related to clothing, okay. Pain, okay. So, and shape of the object, edge, whether it is embossing or surface texture. So, these are the tactile responses. Some of the sensory perceptions are actually vibrotactile sensation due to the vibration, direct or indirect vibration, okay, like tickling, itching, okay, buzzing sound. So, these are the sensation we receive our body, different types of vibration, okay. And most of these sensations are linked with different tactile stimulation of the body. So, these are the tactile sensation and vibrotactile, they are related, okay. Now, we will discuss that how this neurophysiological sensation get transmitted. So, we have discussed that it is important to identify the specific actuators required to produce different types of human neurophysiological sensation, which results with a different tactile display like pressure, touch and prickle, okay. So, first we have to get this sensation. Basically, the different types of tactile display transmits the energy to the skin surface. So, maybe it is a vibration, maybe tickling or maybe something touch or. So, they actually send energy to the skin, okay. First this all this stimulation we have discussed earlier. So, this all sends energy to the skin, and then from the skin it goes to different sensors. If it is warm sensor receive, if it is vibration, if it is high pressure. So, that means first it is the stimulation is there, then it is basically like different types of pressure, touch, prickle, then it sends signal energy to the skin. From the skin surface, the energy transmits to the tactile receptors, different receptors, if it, and then from that receptor there are it gets transmitted to the brain and through the spinal cord. So, there are different methods to flow the tactile responses. So, tactile receptor gets signal, okay. This the low frequency, low amplitude mechanical deformation. So, how this mechanical stimulation gets that this gives the signal to the receptors is the way it's one is the low frequency low amplitude mechanical deformation. So, if it touches, so it may deform the skin as well as the receptors as we have discussed. Then vibrotactile stimulation, through the vibration it gets stimulated. Electrotactile stimulation, through electric current it gets stimulated. Forced feedback display, so like it is some kinesthetic, like if it is moving, so that type of display it is there. Thermal sensation, with the heat it is flowing, so that type of sensation it gets. So, all these ways the sensation gets transmitted, and another way is that through air or liquid jet or liquid current. So, through air, so air is blowing, so that sensation we can get. So, when if air is blowing, as we have discussed that our hair, through hair follicle nerve ending we get sensation. These are the 6 different ways we get the tactile flow of tactile sensation to our body. Okay. Now, one by one we will discuss the low frequency and low amplitude mechanical deformation. What is that? The low frequency low amplitude mechanical deformation is responsible for sensation of contact of any object with our skin, which may be continuous or intermittent. So, that with the help of this, so when the skin is at has high, the human skin has high sensitivity with the intermittent contact, okay, in which an object is brought in and out of contact of the body. So, if it is touching continuously or it is releasing its touch, so that sensation is very active in our skin. Okay. Whereas, if an object is at constantly in touch, the sensitivity may not be that high. Like vibrotactile sensation, it senses the matter when they are vibrating in nature against the skin. This can sense a frequency, sense of frequency is about say 250 hertz. So, that type of sensors are present, we have discussed earlier. So, this at 250 hertz. So, at that high frequency our body gets sensation, okay? It gets transmitted. So, vibration may be effectively transmitted through air gap and again due to high intermittent contact of. So, through air gap, suppose some vibration something is vibrating, through air gap it gets signal, or something is continuously touched. We have actually touched at very high frequency, something is vibrating at high frequency, that sensation we can get, okay, and our sensors get signal, it is getting transmitted. So, vibrotactile sensation is these are the different techniques available to actually send signal, tactile signal in our body. Okay. So, something is vibrating, if it is touching, then we can get signal. Okay. This is an examiner, this is a participant. Okay. Here some vibrating object is is touching and he is trying to get the signal, and this is another, this here is the textured surface, and if someone you are moving the finger, okay, and then there will be a vibration. So, due to the textured surface there will be certain vibration, this is the direction of vibration, and this is the stimulator, okay, that we can get that signal. So, this is there will be vibration stimulator and our skin gets some vibrating signal and it gets transmitted. Similarly, the electrotactile sensation, the electrotactile stimulation is when a current is passed through a skin, okay, we get certain signal, certain shock, which it excites the sensory system directly rather than the tactile. So, it directly it sends signal to the sensory system, we get some shock. Okay. This is called electrotactile stimulation, and by this we can test whether our sensations are working or not. Okay. And forced feedback display, as we have discussed, it is a kinesthetic type sensory system. Okay. And they interact with the different types of sensors like friction, vibration. So, when something is moving, the whatever sensation we get, it is called forced feedback display. Like when we move, our cloth starts slipping from our body, it gets some movement, relative movement. So, that gives this type of feedback system display. Okay. It is kinesthetic tactile sensory system like friction, vibration, and thermal sensation are related with the inward and outward flow of heat, okay, from our body through the by the conduction of the skin, okay, or convection or radiation. Okay. Heat is transmitted to the heat sensitive receptors by conduction through tissues. So, this is another way of the through conduction the heat is we receive, our skin receives heat from the environment through conduction, convection and radiation, and then this heat is transmitted to the from the skin to the receptor by conduction, okay, through the tissue, okay. And then our that thermal receptor that they sense the signal, and that ultimately this sensation it is sent to the brain, okay. Conduction is next is that air or liquid, okay, in the form of jet or current stimulates either hair follicle receptors by moving the hair or by different type of mechanoreceptors by exciting with the force or vibrating skin. So, this is very important. Suppose air is moving slowly, if it is able to distort our hair, that means our hair follicle receptor will sense, okay, the movement of air, okay, and it gives a signal. Suppose there is no hair, so still we get feeling of that type of or movement, or air is moving or air jet is there. So, if air jet is projected against our skin, that means it will give some pressure sensation. So, our mechanoreceptors will be activated, okay, by the force or its vibrator, it starts vibrating the skin. So, these are the ways we get our the tactile sensation responses are getting transmitted in our body. Okay. Now, we will discuss that the physiological requirement of our body, that is thermoregulation, the thermal temperature regulation, how to actually control the temperature. Our body controls the temperature by physiology, okay. And accordingly we can select our clothing to keep our body comfortable. Okay. So, in this segment we will discuss the temperature regulation. Okay. So, metabolic heat and body temperature it's a known, it's a for a different. So, the risk is that if it goes beyond plus minus 5 degrees Celsius, then our body will be at risk. Okay. Like normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. If it goes below 32 degrees Celsius, its hypothermia and hyperthermia will be there. If it is going above 43 degrees Celsius. Okay. So, this is the temperature, it is within this range we can survive, but ideally the temperature should be around say 37 degrees Celsius, 36 to 38, that range it is a comfortable range. Okay. So, 36 normal activity, the body requires a narrow range. So, 36 to 38 degrees Celsius is the normal range. So, beyond that range we will not be able to survive. So, body temperature, how to control the body temperature physiologically. So, body temperature is controlled by thermal regulation. So, our internal physiology, it actually controls the body temperature automatically, but our clothing's function is to help, it assists the, if in case if it is required. If it is required, then our clothing can assist to keep the body temperature constant under control, and the thermal, that is the body temperature, it is actually that thermophysiological activities, physiological activities are there. So, that way it can control. So, it is by thermal radiation. So, our body can release the heat by radiation, by adjusting the diameter of peripheral blood vessel. So, that we will discuss, like vasoconstriction or vasodilation. So, by changing the diameter of the blood vessel, it controls the flow rate of blood. Accordingly, our body temperature is controlled by sweating. So, when our body gets heated up, so our physiological activity automatically it starts working and our sweat glands get activated and we start sweating. By sweating we release body heat. Okay. But our clothing's function is to actually manage this sweat. If our clothing does not actually absorb this sweat, then our body temperature cannot be controlled, our body temperature will keep on increasing. And one is that temperature, body temperature control, and next is that the distribution of skin temperature. So, skin temperature, our body temperature, as we have seen, the core temperature is within 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. Typically, it should be around 37 degrees Celsius. But what happened to the skin temperature? Skin temperature is not constant. At different parts of the body, at different environmental temperature, it varies, it changes. Okay. So, throughout the body it is not uniform, and lower in the extremities, means from say that stomach, from this part. So, at the extreme point, like at the finger, okay, at the extreme point it gets it reduces, the temperature reduces. Okay. And at the trunk zone the body temperature is almost it is higher always. Okay. And it changes with the environmental temperature. So, with the as the environmental temperature increases, our the skin temperature also changes. Okay. Higher average temperature of skin is higher at summer than winter. So, in winter our skin temperature is lower than the summer average temperature, but our body core temperature is always constant. Okay. It is irrespective of winter or summer, body core temperature remains same. Now, let us see, these are the temperature distribution of our body, different of the skin at different condition, like neutral condition. At neutral condition it is maybe around say 35-36 degrees Celsius temperature. Neutral condition it is a, this is the at say 34-35 degrees Celsius, forehead and all. So, we see at normal temperature, neutral stable condition, the temperature range of temperature is not that high. It's a maximum at say around 35.8 in forehead, okay, and we can say 32.7 in that cuff zone. So, that is the temperature difference is there. But if we see in the cold condition, cold stable condition, so we will see that minimum is at the finger or foot. At the extremity, it is actually as low as say 21 degree Celsius, that, and at the front neck or back neck it is 34 degree Celsius. So, at that zone it gives higher temperature, okay. Abdomen it is at, so at different portions the this is actually this temperature is for unclothed person. For unclothed person this is the temperature distribution, okay. Similarly, if we see at the summer the temperature is high. So, warm stable condition, this is the front and back neck, it is around 37 degree Celsius, but the finger you can see when it was in the cold it was 21 degree Celsius, but in the in warm condition it is very high. So, that is the temperature, and here we will see the warm condition the temperature distribution is almost uniform throughout the body. So, warm condition. So, we can see in normal condition there are certain range of temperature. So, around say 3 to 4 degree Celsius, but in cold condition the range has become around 15 degree Celsius. So, that is the range, but in warm condition. So, due to the why is it so? Because at warm condition due to our physiological automatic physiological control of the human body temperature. So, this due to this activity it is almost same. So, due to secretion of our sweat and different activities that we will discuss, that it maintains the skin temperature almost constant. Okay. So, how to control the body temperature? The disturbance in stability of body temperature due to extreme heat in summer or cold in winter is controlled by internal physiological mechanism of the body. So, body internal physiology maintains the body temperature. So, this although the skin temperatures are different, but body temperature it is controlled. So, how is it controlled? So, in winter the reduced temperature is controlled by increased metabolic rate. So, in winter our metabolic rate is high. So, it is automatically its metabolic rate high. So, that it increase the generation of heat, body heat to maintain the body temperature. So, winter, because in winter our automatically we start releasing the body heat. So, to maintain that so our automatic the physiologically it increases the metabolic rate and constriction of the peripheral blood vessel. That means, the diameter of the blood vessel reduces, okay, which actually help in reduction in blood flow. So, blood flow has got its other important aspects, but along with that it also helps in maintaining the body temperature by changing the rate of flow. Okay. This part we will discuss. Okay. So, increased metabolic rate and constriction of peripheral blood vessel, whereas in summer it actually just opposite thing happens. So, where the metabolic rate in summer is reduced, lower, okay, and constriction, in place of constriction it is a dilation takes place. So, in summer another activity takes place, which is sweating. By sweating, our body tries to release the heat immediately, okay, with the water, okay, with the sweat. The sweating process is activated to reduce the body temperature. So, if body temperature goes up, so immediately our body actually releases the sweat and such, so that it gets cooled down. So, it releases the sweat, but if the sweat starts evaporating, then the cooling effect will be enhanced. The sweating process then. Now, we can see this is the these are the blood circulation system, okay. Through the vascular system in the skin assist the peripheral principal mechanism of thermal regulation. Okay. So, this actually this blood circulation it actually controls the body temperature. So, blood circulation has got its important function of actually sending the nutrients to different parts of the body. Along with that, the whatever the blood vessels are there in skin, due to the transmission of blood, it actually controls the body temperature, like from the artery and vein. So, from through the artery, actually it goes from heart, actually it goes to throughout the body. So, there what happened, the constriction if take place. So, it will actually give the slow movement of heat. Okay. So, primary function of blood circulation is to deliver nutrients and oxygen to the tissues. So, that is the primary function, we have nothing to do with that. Okay. But to maintain the body temperature, okay, in addition to this, that blood circulation assists the principal mechanism of thermal equilibrium. So, our body core temperature has to be kept constant. So, it is actually kept within the normal temperature when. So, it keeps the heat within the human body, that means it does not allow the heat to flow out. How does it do? It is actually by constriction of the blood vessel. So, if it is constricted, that means the blood flow will be reduced, and so the heat will not reach to the up to the skin to that rate, it will remain within our body. So, our body will remain warm. So, this phenomena is known as vasoconstriction. But in summer we need to release our body heat. So, we need our body heat to flow out, okay, and that is done by the which is its outer flow, which is done by the vasodilation. So, it gets dilated, okay, and then it flows out, the rate of blood flow increases. So, our body gets cooled down. Okay. So, due to the control of blood flow, we can maintain our body heat. So, this is the there, and I will discuss other physiological phenomena, but all this phenomena, that this mechanism works within a certain limit. Okay. But if it exceeds, then our body will be under threat. So, then our body temperature may increases above the safe range, safe zone, safe temperature, and it may drops down. Okay. So, that these are the physiological phenomena by which we can our body temperature gets controlled. Disturbance in stability of body temperature, like in winter, the reduced temperature is controlled by increase the metabolic rate. So, metabolic rate is increased. So, body gets body generates extra heat, constriction of peripheral blood vessel. So, we try to retain the body heat, So, heat is retained within the body by reducing the blood circulation as we have discussed to the skin. So, the skin does not get the blood at that rate, and so heat is retained there. And if this system, this total vasoconstriction and metabolic rate that we have discussed, if these are insufficient to retain the body heat, then what happens? Then the body starts another mechanism. Okay? This is by tensioning the muscle, it starts tensioning the muscle and then leading to its vibrator. Then people will, because our it is tensioning the you will see that our the hairs at the skin will get erected. So, that is the by tensioning the muscle, and then will start shivering. So, by shivering it is by muscle, the body tries to get extra heat, mechanical heat by mechanical energy. So, that extra heat is provided by the shivering, okay, to get the extra energy, extra heat, and it starts at the trunk region and then gradually spread over the other limbs. Okay. So, that is these are the mechanisms we get. Now, these are the physiological mechanism, but if we start, so if increasing metabolic rate fails, then constriction, if a constriction fails to retain the body heat, then shivering start. Shivering is it is not enough to maintain the body heat. Suppose body heat starts still it is dropping, then what happened? So, if we start shivering, then what we do normally, if a person is starts shivering, if we wrap a cloth around him, if I wrap a cloth, then we will immediately stop shivering, because it provides insulation. The cloth is providing the insulation, that is the extra layer, it actually stops the flow of reduce the flow of heat from the body, and he will start feeling comfortable. What does it show? Our body physiology has its own action. Okay. Body physiology, due to our own body physiology, we get automatically we get to control the body temperature. In case of cold, as we have discussed, by increasing metabolic rate, by vasoconstriction, by shivering we can control, but if it fails, if it reaches its extreme point, then our clothing, by using proper clothing, we can make ourselves comfortable. So, the activity of this clothing which we must understand, and this all this rate of change, rate of shivering, when a person will start shivering and rate of constriction depends on the temperature. Okay. So, that accordingly we can design our clothing to make ourselves comfortable. Okay. On the other hand, in summer the opposite phenomena happens. The body physiology, opposite thing is happening. What is that? It starts sweating process. So, sweating through extra sweating. So, when we release the extra sweat, so immediately by that we want to reduce the heat. And in winter we have seen, due to retain the body heat, the vasoconstriction was required. That means the flow of blood to is reduced, so that the body heat does not get transmitted from inside to the through the skin. But here in summer we need to enhance the release of body heat and the vascular system, through vascular system we release the heat by the dilation of the blood vessel. This is called vasodilation. So, sweating process is activated and then vasodilation starts. Okay. So, to control the increase of body heat, the vascular system in the skin enhance the release of body heat through the skin by vasodilation. Okay. And this diagram shows the detailed activity of our body physiology to control the body temperature. So, this is the normal condition. Okay. Normal condition we try to maintain our body, it is a normal condition, that body always tries to keep the body temperature normal. But if the temperature is too hot, too hot, it affects the hypothalamus, which is actually hot. There are in hypothalamus there are two types of centers, so hot center and another is cold center. This actually it is present in our brain, human brain, which sense the hot and cold. So, if it is too hot, the brain sense it is too hot, then it starts the physiological activities. Okay. So, this physiological, due to the physiological activity, then all these activities will start. So, first the sensor will sense and ultimately it will send the signal to the brain, brain will get activated and it will start the physiological activities. So, this hypothalamus, the hot center in extreme hot temperature, it will give signal to the physiological activity, it will activate this physiological performance. Then that is the vasodilation of the surface of capillary shuts and shuts the vessel constrict, that is vessel constriction will shut and vasodilation will start. Okay. And this part, so how to control the body temperature, so we will discuss in the next class. Okay. So, thank you.